Okay, so welcome back, CIS 5520, Management Information Systems. So this video will actually be posted on Blackboard, just in case some of the students missed or you missed some information. So, and we'll be doing that every time that we have a session. So today's agenda is we'll go through the syllabus and then go through the course content so that you understand what is required of you in this class and also what is required of me in this class. So that's the agenda for today. We'll maybe try to see if we can cover the first chapter. If not, we'll see how far we'll go. So the first item is when you get to Blackboard, you're going to be presented with the link that says start here, and I always give this information about how many hours you need to take or how many hours you need to devote for the class, and I say 7 hours here. For some of you, it might be more. For some of you, it's going to be less. So when you're doing your planning, when you're looking at your classes, your work schedule, try to incorporate that. Now remember, most of the time when you're taking a class, that's going to be the maximum time that you have to devote to the class. So I say 7 hours, some of you might take less, some of you might be more, but that's how I compose that. So if you're taking 3 classes, maybe that's 21 hours. If you're working full time, make sure that you're having that balance. So you should have seen students devote too much time to working and then they don't do very well in the classes. So at least make sure that you have that balance. A little bit of my welcome information here about my background. Some of you are familiar with it. And then a little bit here about how to go about accessing the online class sessions. And since most of you are already here, so I'm hoping that you did not have an issue with that. But basically is you come through the class session, through the online class session. And then if we have the student office hours, we'll do them through this link. So that is that part over there. You come down here if you're going to be using Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Access. You don't need to buy those resources. The school has provided them for you. And there's the link here for you about how to go about doing that. We have some academic and student support services under this link. So that will provide you with that information. The next item is meet your instructor, and I have my email address here and I have my phone number here. So this is actually not my personal phone number. This is a phone number that I acquired just for the students. So this is the phone number that you can call me, you can text me if you have any issue about the class, use that. That is for your own services. We have office hours. Now I have given you my office. I'm really going to be in the office, but I have office hours and you're going to be doing them through Blackboard Collaborate, or even sometimes maybe WebEx or Zoom. So the best way, or one of the ways in which we can actually ensure that we are meeting and we are interacting, is if you need to meet, just send me a text and tell me maybe on Monday between 1 and 2 or 2 and 4 you want to meet, and then we can go ahead and arrange how we are going to be meeting. Usually I'll create a link on Blackboard Collaborate, and then you can go ahead and we can share and we can talk about the class activities. So make use of the office hours. This is time that you have paid for, and most of the professors are required to keep office hours. I think it's 10 hours a week. So don't be struggling there with your assignments, with your projects. Consult with your professors. 90% of the time when you reach out, people will work with you. So make sure that you are using that office hours. I have a link here for some of my research in case you're interested in what kind of research I conduct. You can go in through here. I know some of you might be interested in going to graduate school, taking doctoral classes. So that's part of the requirement for you to get a doctoral degree. You need to do a little bit of research. So that's part of what I do. And you can go through that link. Okay, any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, sometimes I talk a little bit too fast, so in case you miss something, and because of the communication, sometimes if you just use the chat, that also works. So that is that. So course documents, I think I sent syllabus maybe yesterday, and I'm hoping at least you're able to at least peruse through it. So that gives you an idea about what you're going to be working on. We have 2 forms of syllabus. We have what you're calling the interactive syllabus. So this is the one that you can actually go through on your mobile device or on your computer. So it gives you the same information, my name, course description, and the book that you're going to be working with. So it's two link here that you can use for the book. We have the ebook, we have the paperback, and I think the book is a little bit expensive. So decide on which one you're going to be getting. I think the bookstore should have one. You can also get one on your own, and you can go through these links here. I think it's $67, $70, something like that. So suit yourself. Research has shown that students who tend to get books usually tend to do very well in the classes. And at this level, you should also be working towards creating kind of like a library for yourself. So if you take a class and you buy a book, don't always go ahead and sell the book. So that's what I will uh, encourage. And I see somebody has a question. Let's do that. Terrell, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So the book in the bookstore, is that the correct book? Because I think in the bookstore they have the fourth edition, and this says edition 3.1. And I ordered the book, and it just got here like today.
Yeah, it should, if you have the fourth edition, that is fine. If you have the third edition, it should be fine. So the main difference maybe might be the cases, and I will check. So what I'll do is check the cases that we are working with, and if I don't think they should be different. Actually, I have not looked at the fourth edition, but I'll make sure that I'll check to make sure that they are the same. If there's any difference, I'll let you know. So
Okay, thank you.
that's yeah, that's good update. Okay. Yeah, when we said the class, they had the third edition. Maybe the bookstore decided to get the latest edition, but that's fine. How much was the book? Do you mind sharing that?
It was $90 from the bookstore, but I had money left over on the book charge from last semester, so that's why I went that
Okay.
route. Because you can't get that money back if you don't spend it after a while. So
Okay, got you. Yeah, bookstore, they sometimes stuck in something a little bit. They need to make some, create some revenues, a profit. But that's, yeah, that's where we are. Okay, a few of the learning objectives. So what you're going to find that is information system is a requirement for most of the businesses, and you are taking a you are MBA students, so probably you'll end up as managers, and you might actually not be IT managers. So you might be what you're calling line managers. You might be either in accounting, in marketing, or any other field, what you call the functional managers, but you at least need to have an understanding of how information system is used in the business. So that's why we are taking this class, and we'll be talking a little bit about more about that. So you don't need to have like what you call the technical understanding of information system programming and things like that, but at least you need to have an understanding of how you can use information system to help the business create value. Okay, so you're going to be talking about those concepts. So that's kind of the learning objectives, like we talk about, for instance, demonstrate appropriate usage of information system. So a little bit of the technology that we use. So when you talk about the data, you talk about information, you talk about intelligence, at least you have an understanding of what is the difference between those three concepts and also what is the relationship. So when you go to Home Depot and ask you for your zip code, when you're buying something, that's what you're calling the data. So they collect all the zip code for maybe 100 employees, and at the end of the day or at the end of the month, they analyze those zip code, and then from that, they're able to determine where their customers are coming from. Now, that is what you're calling information. And then when they get that information, they're also able to see what customers from a certain region are buying. So from there, they can create knowledge, and then they can use that knowledge to determine where they're going to be either opening new stores or even determining the price and customizing their customers and things like that. So you move from data, you process it, you have information, and then from information, you have knowledge. And then, of course, from knowledge, we move to what you're calling the intelligence. So that's type of part of what you're calling the terminology. And then we have things like the hardware, we have the software, all the way like that. Okay, so we'll be looking at things explaining the impact of the internet on business models. So there's actually a very good case study in your book that talks about the dominoes. And if you have ordered uh, pizza recently, I don't know how many of you still using the phone to order pizza? Anybody? Anybody who ordered a pizza recently? Want to share about how they went about doing that? Anybody can jump in if you have ordered pizza recently. Samantha, go ahead. Oh, Samantha disappeared. Mark, do you want to share how you ordered pizza?
Well, I ordered one before from Papa John not too long ago, and I think it was kind of like a call center, if I'm not mistaken. It seemed like, because the when I had spoke with the woman, she was from another state.
Okay, so call center, somebody else.
I
When I
ordered,
ordered from
but it
Domino's, it
come
was
from the
just the
app.
local Domino's.
So you walk to the store. I use DoorDash. Okay, so DoorDash. Tell us about a little bit about DoorDash. Somebody say DoorDash.
Oh, that was me. I use DoorDash all the time. It's probably a bad, very, very bad habit, but it's
Now
so
it's
convenient. You just use it on your app on your phone, and they bring
okay.
the food to you. I have children, so it's so much easier than going out.
Okay, very good. So DoorDash, and then somebody mentioned the app. So that is kind of like now the new thing, whereby we have the apps, and they're actually saying there's a video case study that talks about how they have changed from the old days when you had to pick up the phone and call the store. Now is everything is most of the things are being done through the app. So that is part of the information system. When you order items through the app, the business, at least in one way or another, it's able to reduce the cost, but also the big thing is about getting the orders correctly. Okay, because now you can go in and you can specify exactly what you want. You have access to all the menu. The customers are actually doing most of the work. So what businesses are doing is actually they are shifting the job to the customers. Customers are doing most of the work, and then what the business is doing is just preparing the order. So that is part of what you're going to be looking at, how you can use an information system to enhance the services of the organization, and of course reduce the cost. And when you reduce the cost, you increase what? The revenue. So you'll be looking at things like that. So that's what you're calling the internet, and how you have what you're calling the business models. Okay, so cost methodology, we are saying, is going to be how we're doing this online. I think in the old days it used to be face to face. Hopefully we'll be able to go back to face to face, and that of course has some advantages, but it's what it is. So that's what you're going to be working with. Okay, at least you need to have some working knowledge of Blackboard, and you're here, so I'm sure you have that. And then we have how the information is organized. So we have what you're calling the weekly working workload, and I'll talk about that in a few seconds. And the other item is on the assignment. So it seems like there's a lot of assignments, but they are kind of like well structured. What you have to do is make sure that you pace yourself. And what I tell my students by now, I'm hoping that you have a good system that works for you, but have kind of like a schedule for the week where you can say, for this class, I'm going to devote this amount of time. This is when I do my assignment. This is when I do my work. This is when I'm going to be working. This is when I have to do some extracurricular activity. Some of you have families, means that you're not neglecting your family. So have something, a system that works for you, and try to follow it. You can also make some adjustments, and hopefully things will work out. So we are going to start with what you're calling introduction video. Now you can see me, I can see you. So we need to know who is in the class. In the face-to-face, we do that. We walk in the first day of class, we know each other. Now, the only way that we can do that is by introducing ourselves. So you're going to be making a video, and you're going to be answering a few questions, and then you'll watch that video, and hopefully you'll be able to go back and comment and at least know who your colleagues are. Create the relationship, start creating the networks, because some of you are going to be managers, some of you are going to start businesses, some of you will go out there, and when you create the network and the relationship, you never know who you're going to meet 5 years from now. So if you create those relationships and those networks, hopefully down the road they will be able to pay off. People say no man is an island, no man can stand alone, so we all need each other. So let's make sure we do that. Evaluation, you're going to be graded on this. The video introduction is 5%. We have 3 case studies. We have some quizzes, and these quizzes are very straightforward. So every week we'll have a quiz. It's 10 questions, 10 minutes, but you can redo it over and over. It's kind of like to help you in learning and retaining some of the concept. We have a major project, so we'll provide more guideline on the project, and then we have 2 exams, a midterm and a final. So this is called course the summary of the course calendar, and it gives you kind of a breakdown, so there's no surprises. So if you're planning your birthday, your wedding anniversary, uh, you can see how you can fit it into this. Now, one thing that you'll notice is I don't think we have spring break this year. So note that we don't have spring break, and I think that's the only major item that is missing from the schedule. Attendance policy, we highly encourage you to attend class. If you can't, at least make sure you watch the videos. And yeah, Manning, did you have a question
Oh no,
on
I
that?
think that's no, I think that's from. I just didn't take it off.
Okay, got you. Okay, so we encourage you to attend the class if you can. If you can't, at least keep us updated on what is going on. Some other additional information here that can help you. So review this. If you have any questions, let me know. So what we're doing is weekly learning workloads. That's how this course is organized, and we have week 1, week 2, week 3, all the way down like that. You're only able to see week 1. You can see you're only able to see week 1 and week 2. You can see week 3. So week 1 we have introduction video. That's the only thing that is due, and then of course you go through the syllabus and make sure that you understand most of the concept. And then week 2 is when we start hitting the ground running. Now the only issue is next week on Monday is Martin Luther King Doctor holiday. And I'm not sure what you guys want to do on that holiday. You want to go to the beach, or what's the plan?
Rest and relaxation.
A little bit of relaxation. You just
Yes,
started
sir.
the semester. You just started the semester. What are you going to be relaxing about?
You know, it's such a hard start getting back into it again. All the energy from this whole week, and yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so technically we wouldn't have class on Monday, but I'm open to having a session if you're available, and then I can record the session because that will be kind of like our first week. So it's a little bit more technical. I don't know how many of you will be able to attend. If you can, that's fine. If not, life goes on. We'll move it to another day. So let me know. But we have some things that are going to be due that week. I'm turning up Professor K. Okay, that's good. Congratulations, Anastasia. Make sure you share the cake. So email. So there are some things that are going to be due that week. You'll email me the name of the company, and I'll talk about a little bit about this project. So it's still in the development, and this usually you'll see that the assignments are due by the end of the week. So on Saturday. So the assignments are not due on Sunday; they're due on Saturday. So that way, get maybe some time on Sunday to go through them, and then when we meet on Monday, I can give you a little bit of feedback. So all the assignments are due on Saturday. But I'll provide more feedback and more information about the assignment. So for week 1, you click on getting started. And I say we have the presentation. So we'll go through this briefly. And then the most important is introduce yourself. Okay. So this introduction is you're using a new software. It's called VoiceThread. Some of you are familiar with this. Some of you might not be familiar with this. But basically what you'll do is you can read these questions first, and then at least make sure that you are familiar with the answers to this. And then you'll click on this link right here. And this link will take you to this page here, introduce yourself. I see somebody's already trying to do that. And then you click introduce yourself on the voice thread, and you'll be brought to this page here. So the same questions. So usually what I'll say is read the questions, prepare the answer, and then you'll click on this link, the plus sign here, and we want to make a video. We don't want to do the text. You're not doing the phone. You're not doing the voice. We want a video. So you have to make sure that you have a device that has a camera, your laptop or maybe your phone, whatever you're using. And then you'll hit on record. And then your camera will come on, and then you'll start talking. So you'll talk to the camera and you say your name, your major, your classification, blah, 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 and you answer as many of these questions as possible. And then once you finish, you're going to hit submit. So that will be a video of you introducing yourself to your colleagues. And then what you'll do is on this side here, you'll click on one of your colleagues' videos. So let's, for instance, Townsend, if you don't mind, I'll click on that, and you can see she already had her video ready, and then you'll click on this icon here, and then that's a comment. So you come back here, and then you have replying the thread, and then you can go ahead and make a video comment, or you can use the text. So for the comment, you can use the text, but for your original video, require you to use a video recording. Are we together on how we're doing that? So you'll at least make 2 comments on your colleagues. And for instance, one of the that you can make a comment is, for instance, Townsend said, "Oh, I traveled during the break and I went to China for maybe 2 weeks." So you might want to find out some information about China. Okay, so what did you find in China? How was it to travel during the COVID? Like for instance, myself, I was actually able to travel. I went to Africa for 3 weeks with the COVID and all that. I was on the plane for 20 hours with my mask, blah blah blah. So it's kind of like an experience that maybe some people might want to ask a little bit about. So if I had made a recording like that and I had that information there, then you can ask something like that and I come back and tell you a little bit about it. So it's kind of like a way for us to interact because this is the only way that we can do it during this time. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So far.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So far.
Okay, very good. So that's how we're going to be introducing ourselves. And as we move forward, we are going to be working on cases, and most of these cases are going to be done through the voice thread. Okay. So in the past, what we used to do is we'll have the cases and you'll just go ahead and write maybe a Word document and then upload it. But moving forward, we're going to be doing most of our cases through voice thread. So what you're going to do is you read the question, compose the answer, and then you come back, record yourself, and then you produce the answer. And the same thing with the discussion. And then you post it, and then your colleagues will come back, they watch your video, and at least they comment. So for the cases, you're required to at least make a comment on one of your colleagues' post. And then once you do that, your item will be ready for grading. So let's make sure that we do that. It's kind of like a way for us to be able to interact. Remember also, now most of the job interviews are being done online. Many people are working online and you're having Zoom and WebEx and all that. So the more we practice this, the better we are going to get at it and more comfortable we'll be. So that if you're doing a job interview, you'll be able to do it much, much easier. If you're holding a meeting, you'll be able to manage. Okay, so that's under the weekly learning workload. And I see we had said, so actually because we don't have a class next week, we might actually be able to hit chapter 1, and then that we'll be able to start preparing and see how we'll be able to move on. So like for instance, I think on week 3, we'll have our first case. Now you can't see this because it's hidden, but we'll have our first case. So you'll use this link to address the case, and the case is in your book in chapter 2, Troubleshooting Information Systems at the Royal Hotel. So the case gives you some scenario that happened in the hotel, and then they're asking you what should you have done. So you're going to be assuming that you are the manager of that hotel and you're the one who is in charge of the information system. And then based on what you have read in the book and also other information that you might have gathered outside, what would you have done differently? Okay, so just share that, and then you make a video of that, post it, and then you're going to come back, listen to it, and then we make a comment, and then we move on. So that's how we're going to be doing most of our assignments. Any questions?
No questions so far, Professor. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the part on what is expected of you. So let's see whether we can hit chapter 1 a little bit. So the book is actually, I think, an easy read. And like I mentioned before, you don't need to be technical savvy to access the book. And we're going to be looking at it from the management perspective. So they talk about the functional manager, and they talk about the general manager, they talk about the IT manager, all the way down like that. So let's see what they have for chapter 1. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you. We're sharing Microsoft PowerPoint. Share that. Okay, now if you have not read the book, some of this might be a little bit abstract, but on the other hand, you don't have to be so much concerned about the abstract part. So I'll talk about the things that I think are important, and then we can move on. Okay, so we are calling this information system for managers, and I don't know which part you're seeing. So Can somebody explain to me what you're seeing? Because I have two screens, so I don't know what you have.
We're seeing a little screen that has just essentially the cover that says information systems by managers, or for managers, excuse me, solo by itself.
Okay. So that's where the mouse pointer is moving around. You can see that.
I'm sorry, I don't see the mouse pointer as of yet.
Okay, small screen. Okay, maybe you're seeing that. But anyhow, so the book has 13 chapters. So the first one is information system and the role of general and functional managers. And functional managers, by now, hopefully, maybe you are a little bit aware of who they are. So in an organization, if most of the companies, I think we mentioned this in project management, they can be structured under what you're calling functional. So you have the CEO, and then you have the marketing department, you have the finance department, you have the information technology department, all the way like that. That's what you call the functional. Or we can have what you call the matrix, okay, a combination of functional and project. Or you can have what you call the project type of structure for companies that deal mainly with the project, usually the companies that are in consulting. So we're talking about a functional manager. So you might be maybe the chief financial officer, or you might be the marketing manager, or you might be the sales manager. That's what you call the functional manager. Or you can be general manager. Sometimes you have managers who are general. They don't have like kind of a specific title. So that's for chapter one. We'll be looking at that. And then in chapter two, we are going to be looking at information systems defined. So you're going to be defining what is information system. Okay. So simply, when you talk about information system, we're going to be talking about people. They are part of the information system. You're going to be talking about the hardware, things that you can touch. You're going to be talking about the software, programs. Okay. And then you're going to be talking about the procedures. Okay. So those are the four main components of an information system. And then in chapter three, we'll be looking at the organizational information systems and their impact. So how do these information systems impact organizations? Almost all companies now have information systems, okay? And they need them for their own business. And we're going to be looking at how most of the companies are using them. I was in Maryland last week, and I went to a royal farm. I don't know how many of you are familiar with royal farm, and I hadn't been to a royal farm in maybe 6 months, and they have like a different total configuration. Like they have completely changed how they operate. They have automated all their registers. Even the way you order coffee is different. And for a moment, I was actually lost inside the store because I'm used to going in and getting some coffee from the thermostat and things like that. But now it was all different. Paying, I used to go and pay, give somebody some money and they ring me. And this time it was all automated. And we are seeing the same thing happening, like for instance, with Walmart. I think Walmart has also moved to automated checkout registers. Even Food Lion, in some of the places, they have automated self-checkout registers. So all these are how we are seeing the information system changing businesses. And then, of course, now the apps. Okay, everybody maybe have Siri now and Cortana and all that. So we'll be looking at chapter 4, the changing competitive environment. So by now you should be familiar with what is competitive advantage. Okay, so we'll see how companies can use information systems to achieve the competitive advantage, to make sure that they are staying ahead of the game. Okay, or they are doing much better than their competitors. We'll look at strategic information systems. Okay, so we talk about the company strategy and you see how are information systems used to help the company achieve the strategic objectives. So Walmart is known for what? They tout their business model as low cost. Okay, so how do they make sure that they are meeting that strategy of low cost? Of course, by automating self-checkout registers. That's the one of the way that they are going to be what? Lowering the cost, because these machines, once they're implemented, they don't fall sick. They don't have what? They don't ask for timeout. They don't ask for raises. They don't have to ask for health benefits all the way like that. Okay. So we'll also be looking at value creation and strategic information systems. How do you create value in the organization? And all the way down like that until we get to chapter 13, we're going to be looking at security, privacy, and what? And ethics. Okay. So information systems, we need to make sure that we have security and also ethics. There's a very popular case for, I think it's Target, where I think I might have shared this with some of you again in the past, whereby a store knew that the daughter was pregnant before the father knew the daughter was pregnant. Okay, so if you just go online and Google Target knows that the daughter is pregnant before father finds out, you read a little bit about this case. And this is all based on information system. How when you go to the stores are able to collect information about you, and based on the information that they collect about you and other customers like you, they can actually create a profile. And based on that profile, they're actually able to predict and see learn something about you. So in this case, the store was able to collect some data about this teenage girl, and they were able to find out that she was pregnant based on things that she was buying. And then what they did is they sent some flyers home, and the daddy saw the flyers, and he was not very happy that the store was sending the daughter flyers for baby cribs and things like that, and on like that. So ethics, information system, privacy, all the way like that. Any questions so far?
No
No, sir.
questions so far. Thank you.
Okay, are we making progress?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, very good. So that talks about that, and there's this guy who is called the Moore, so Moore's law, and basically this is a law that he talked about all the way back in the 1970s, and this is a law that talks about the transistors, and basically what it says that every year the number of transistors on a microchip will increase, and then based on that you're going to increase the computing power and on like that. So your book talks a little bit about that. You don't have to spend so much time trying to cram and understand this, but basically what they're saying is if you look at the computers that we had in the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, 2010, and what we have now, the computers are becoming a little bit much smaller in size, but more powerful. And you might have heard that the computer that was used to send the man to the moon is actually the computer. When you compare that computer that was used to send man to the moon and you look at its computing power, this phone that we use today is actually more powerful than that computer. So this is that concept of the Moore's law, whereby we're talking about increasing the number of transistors on a microchip and at the same time increasing the computing power. So based on that, you can see that graph. I'm hoping we'll be able to see that graph, and you have the processing power, and as the years increase, so we started from here and we're increasing the number of transistors, and the computer processing power keeps increasing up, like that. So that is where we are. We've increased the computing power. We have also lowered the price of the computers. We have increased the storage capacity of the computers. A few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, if you wanted to buy a hard drive, it will cost you maybe a leg and a what? They say a leg and a what?
Arm and a leg.
Right? An arm and a leg, very good. But now it's very, very cheap. Flash drives are everywhere. You go for a job fair and they give you a free flash drive. Okay, there's a time those things were very expensive. So that's part of the storage capacity. So as we increase the computing power, we increase the storage capacity, we are actually able to do more. And that leads us to what we are calling the big data. Okay, companies are able to generate a lot of data, and also they're able to do what? To process that data, and that's where we have the information age. So the price and performance index you can see is coming down. Okay, so we are able to perform more with less. So these are some of the graphs that help to explain that. Okay, the storage capacity, you can see it has also been what? Decreasing. Okay, when you look at 1995, 1 gigabyte of storage capacity was almost $1,000. Now 2015, it was less than $1. 2020, very, very cheap. Okay, so just look at the flash drive that you have and see how much you bought it, and look at how much it is and divide that and see, you'll be able to find is maybe 50 cents per gigabyte. The same thing with the hard drive. Now we have computers that come with 1 terabyte of storage. Okay, now you don't have to really go into more details about like what is a terabyte and things like that, but at least have an idea about the storage capacity, because when you're talking about companies and being able to use the information system to process and store the data, and you might be the one who is in charge of marketing or the finance, and some employees come to you and they say they want to buy computers for your employees, at least it's good if you have an idea, because you'll be able to ask more informed decisions. So the more you know, the better informed you're going to be, and the more productive you can be in your organization. So that's the part of the management, because if you're a manager and you don't understand the concept, then it can be a problem. Okay, network nodes is the same way, and you're looking at what? That increase, okay? In the old days, now, in the old days, we never used to have that many networks. People will go to the library if you need to use a computer or you need to use the network. Now, anywhere you go, okay, we have internet at home, although we still have what you're calling the digital divide, especially with the minorities. They're still a little bit left behind, and we need to do something about that. Okay, voting, making sure that we are taking our schoolwork seriously so we can maybe change our lives and change the lives of our loved ones. But the internet is almost everywhere. Networks are everywhere. You go to McDonald's, you can just sit down the whole day. You go to Starbucks, you can sit the whole day and use the internet. This is not the same case in all the parts of the world. When I went to Africa for the 3 weeks that I was there, there's some places that I went and there was no internet. And even sometimes when you have internet, you have to pay for it. So these are things that sometimes we take for granted, but it's what it is. So, but Africa is a beautiful place. If you've not been there, I'll encourage you to visit. Beautiful place. Anyhow, so IoT, Internet of Things, a lot of connected objects. So we have connections almost everywhere. Okay. So most of the devices in your car, you're connected. At home, you're connected. We have fridge that I can actually order items as they run out. We have fridge that can give you a recipe based on the item that you have in your fridge. So this is what you're calling the Internet of Things. Okay, we have very many components that are connected to the internet, and this is also because of, if you remember, we talked about the decrease in the cost of storage capacity, the increase in the processing power of the computer, so the computer is able to process more. And if you remember, a few years ago, we actually used to buy a device that used to call a GPS. So you'll buy a device that you actually put in your car, and then you put the information in it, and it tell you where to go. Now we have the phone that are doing everything. Okay, your phone is your GPS. You don't need to use the yellow book to call the taxi, all the way like that. We're doing 99% of everything in our phone. Okay, you talk to your phone to turn off the lights in your house. Okay, you talk to your phone to start your car. Okay, so this is what you're calling Internet of Things. And we have that concept of the what? Of big data. And this guy, he says what? In a single day, we are creating more data than mankind did from the beginning through 2000. Okay, that's mind-boggling. Okay, and there are very many people who are making money out of this, keeping up with the Kardashians. I mean, what do the Kardashians sell? Anybody? A little bit of
They
makeup.
sell
Yeah.
dolls.
What else?
They sell themselves. That's what they sell.
Nothing. Not sell anything.
Okay, somebody say they sell themselves. Somebody say they sell nothing. Do they really sell nothing?
I think they sell a idea. They sell an idea more than anything. Like
They sell a lifestyle too.
Okay, so basically what we are saying is all about the data. Okay, they go online and they like something, and then they have all these followers, and they are paid because of the number of followers that they have. Okay, Instagram. So that's why I say be very careful. If you're spending too much time on Instagram, make sure that you're making money out of it. Okay, because I see, like, you get on a bus, or even sometimes you go to the store. I walk around campus and people sitting down. Now we don't communicate a lot. Most of us are on our phone. And I see people just moving through stuff, and you like that, you don't like that. Anytime that you like something, somebody's making money out of it. So make sure that you're the one who is being liked. All you things are being liked. Okay, because that's how people are making money. So we're generating a lot of data because of all these apps that we have. Okay, and we have actually not even invented all the apps. There is still a lot of things that need to be done. Okay, so you're saying 99% of the applications have not been invented. So app is an application. Okay, so there's a lot of things. Now I've heard very many people say, I want to start a business, and that's a very good thing. One of the actual ways that you can be independent in the US is by starting your own business. Now it takes time and energy to start your business. I think it's what, less than 20% of businesses survive the first 3 years. But once you get the business running, it gives you freedom. One of the ways that you can start a business is by looking at a problem. So don't start a business trying to make money, but start a business trying to solve a problem. And most of the business that have been very successful is because the owners started with trying to solve a societal problem. And then you make that your passion. Okay? And then eventually that becomes a business. So there's still a lot of application that we have not invented. So there's a lot of things that are still out there. Okay, so this is an example of some things that have happened, like having the Skype, and this is what, 2015? So this is actually 5 years behind. So a lot of things that have happened, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to see some of this. So what is important for the managers is we're looking at what we call the IT trends, and we have what you're calling the interface. How do we interact? So we have moved from what's called the DOS, the disk operating system, to all these different applications, the interfaces. We have the tablet, we have the phones, we have the PCs, all the way like that. And then we have the cost. So the cost has actually gone low. If you compare the device that we have now with 3-4 years down the road, it's very, very low. Most of the phone companies actually now, they don't even need they have a contract. They're giving you the phones for free, and they have free upgrades because the price of the phones has really gone low. And then we also have the battery. So the battery life has allowed us to be able to use the devices a little bit much more. Okay, because that used to be a big issue in the past. A few years ago, actually, we had batteries that were exploding, but now technology has become much, much easier. So you can see this is just an example, a snapshot to show you what, how we have evolved, and we are still doing what, moving on. Okay, so you can see even in terms of the dimension, like 1983, this computer was what, 329 millimeters, and now we have what, an iPhone 6 that is almost 150 slither, and it's actually more powerful than that. Okay, look at the weight. This is almost 3 kilograms, and this is what, 1 and 2 grams, and this is much more powerful. The iPhone is much more powerful compared with the Apple II. Apple II didn't even have a camera. This Apple thing has so many cameras, I don't even know what to do with them. Okay, look at the storage capacity. 1983, there was no storage in the Apple III. 2018, we have 182 gigabyte, and then we have the cloud. Okay, so you can see how we have developed, and these are the ones that are actually helping us to be able to use these resources for business. That's the whole idea. Okay, these trends are pushing businesses into using technology. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's look at some of the foundation, and I don't know how many people have used the Rolodex, the rolling index. Okay, that used to be a big thing a few years ago.
I was
Nobody
about to say,
uses that now.
do they still make those?
Yeah, they might have some here and there. I mean, there are always people who are called the laggards. So when you talk about the innovation, we have people who are always fast to jump with the innovation, and then you have some people who are a little bit behind. They don't like to adopt very quickly. So we do that. So today somebody is talking about some MBAs. I don't know what they're talking about. Let's see. Today's MBAs armed with their laptops and their Netscape browsers think they know everything about technology. They don't know squat zero about how to construct bulletproof software system, blah, blah, blah. So basically what this guy is talking about is software, and as a MBA or when you become a manager, at least you need to have an idea about what technology is all about. Because what we have seen is for you to be more efficient and more effective in your organization, although you're not going to be the tech person, if you're going to be in the managerial position, if you are the chief marketing officer and you have a little bit of understanding of technology, you'll be much more effective because you can have the same language, you can talk the business language with the CIO, chief information officer, about how you're going to use technology to help you with the marketing. Okay, so that was a little bit harsh, but it's just a way to tell us that we need to at least have an understanding of technology. So knowledge worker, this is a word that you'll be hearing about. Now this is talking about general manager. They made a spelling there, should be manager, not manager. And knowledge, so we have knowledge manager coming from the word knowledge, and you're saying is somebody who is in charge of the entire organization or the business unit. And they give us an example of Jeff Bezos. I think he's actually a CEO or something like that. Okay, so knowledge worker in charge of a functional area or the team. So functional is marketing, like I said, accounting, finance, things like that. Or you can also be in charge of a team when you're working in your organization. So this kind of gives you like a different definition of the different roles that you can have in an organization. So end user, we are all end users if you're using Microsoft Word, Excel, Access, and things like that. So when you're working with developing an information system, you need to at least make sure that you are engaging the end user. These are people who are going to be using the software at the end of the day. So it's good that you involve them so that at least there's higher acceptance in the organization. So technical training and education. So usually you don't see guys dressed like this in the server room, but at least that's all good at least. So, but basically what we are saying here is IT professionals, they're saying they are individuals who have a technical training and a little bit of education. So this is kind of like what you're calling a server room. These are maybe IT guys and they're looking at their network and things like that. If your major is IS, information system, you might end up here. But if you are finance, you don't have to end up here, but you're going to be the one who's going to be approving the purchase of this equipment. So at least you need to have an idea about that. Okay, so if somebody comes and says we're going to be buying this server and it's going to cost us this much, at least you need to ask them question. Why is it costing like that? Okay, so what is the shelf life of that device? Things like that. But basically, IT professionals, they have technical training and a little bit of education. Not a little bit, more education, I'm sorry. Okay, so general and functional managers, often also called the end users. Yeah, even managers use email. So that's where we have the end user. So end user is actually somebody who is using the application on a daily basis. Okay, so that's what we mean by that. Information system. What is the value of information system in an organization? And you're saying all the value of this company is in its people. If you burn down all our plus, so this is Thomas Watson. He was an IBM executive in the early days of IBM, and he's actually one of the person who said we don't need that many computers when Microsoft was trying to come up with the PC. And he says that the most valuable asset in the organization is what? Is the people. Okay, and then of course the information. Okay, so information system, people are part of the information system. You cannot talk about information system without talking about people, all the employees. So note that. Okay, so they give an example here of Dell. So this is one of the most successful company, and basically what they have is Michael Dell. He came up with the company, and then they started what is called the online ordering. So the same concept I said about pushing the work to the customers. They had this platform, and people are able to go online, and then you'll be able to customize your what? Your computer. Okay, basically like what you can do when you go to a McDonald's and you're choosing. I don't know if you can do that in McDonald's. There are some restaurants where you can go in and actually you customize your burger, like you choose the type of bun that you want and the meat and the cheese and things like that. So Michael Dell came up with this concept a number of years back, and people are able to go online and they'll be able to customize their devices, and this propelled the company all the way up and became one of the leading success stories. It's all about the use of technology to create business value. So we'll be talking about this a little bit more. And I remember, I think I bought one of my first computers through the website. So I went in and I was able to choose the type of laptop that you want, the hard drive, even the software if you want warranty. And it was very, very easy to do it because what they did is they cut the middleman. Okay. So the cost, instead of you going to Best Buy or Walmart or whatever, it was not there. You were buying directly from the company. So the computers were actually good for some time, but then I think they blew up and became big and they kind of lost the touch. But I think they're going back to their story. Okay, so the critical lesson here is and we are saying is the managers have to make educated decisions about the use of IT. So as a manager, you at least need to know what IT is. Companies use new IT to serve growing or changing business needs. Okay, we just talked about Walmart transitioning to what? Self-checkout register. Okay, and then we are also seeing companies like Walmart even going to the apps where now you can actually order items from your home, and then somebody goes through the store and they bring them. DoorDash is an example of how companies are using technology to do that. Okay, you have Uber, that is technology. Okay, now the yellow cab, I think I was reading somewhere in New York, they are saying they are almost being put out of business. Okay, Airbnb, that is part of technology, and you can see how technology is actually creating new business models. Okay, so may or may not be end users of the new system they help introduce. So the key thing is survey managers, they partner with IT professionals. So when you're working in an organization, you have to make sure that you are friends with the guys who are in the IT, because now we have actually seen the shift of the role of IT. In the old days, IT used to serve other business units, but now IT is moving to being a strategic resource in the organization. Okay, we are serving the whole organization. We are not serving the departments. So if you are a manager, you need to make sure that you're in good terms with the guys in IT. So we're talking about being an enabler of the new strategy or the initiatives, and it helps with effective what? Management. So we are using IT to help us achieve our business objective. And if you look at most of the businesses, IT is there. Domino's, they make pizza. Now, who would have thought that technology will come in and help what? Deliver pizza. But that's what they're doing. For you to order the pizza, you're using technology. Okay? They're even talking about drones. Okay, they're talking about using voice, okay, to help them with ordering and things like that. That is part of technology. So now technology is becoming part of the bloodline of most of the companies. And here we are learning through technology education. Okay, so some of the implications of the IT trends is the real reason Google paid 322 billion for the Nest. And this is actually a few years ago, 2014. Google has acquired a lot of companies, and they give you some of the examples of the companies that they have acquired here. Nest, DoubleClick, YouTube, Waze, all the way like that. And companies, this is the one of the way in which companies grow, is through acquisitions and also through what you're calling mergers. So if you go to Microsoft and you Google, you'll see how many companies they have acquired. If you go to Apple, the same thing. Google, they acquire all this. So the reason why companies acquire other companies because they see the potential in the product or the service that the company is offering. Okay, so something like YouTube. Now everybody is almost using YouTube in the whole world, and Google does make a lot of money through YouTube. Waze. Okay, how many people use Waze? Anybody?
I do. Best road traveling app around.
Yep,
Yeah, I use Wave.
exactly. So yep. So and Google make money through that. Sometimes it's indirectly, but when you put that app up there, they got some information about you. They collect that, they share that with their partners, and on like that. So that's another way that you start a company and they see the potential, they buy you, you become a billionaire overnight. So try to solve a society problem, and that way you'll be hopefully successful. Okay, so the implications of the trend that we see is we see computing power increases. So remember I said you look at the cell phone that we have now and the cell phone that we had 5 years ago, the one that we have now is much more powerful. Okay, so that is because of what? Cost of computing power has gone down. Okay, so we have more powerful processors and the cost is going down. So what does that mean? That means computers become what? Easier to do what? To use. Okay, nowadays kids what 2 3 years old, they can use the computers, they can use the laptops. And then we have what? Network bandwidth increases. What do we mean by that? When you talk about the bandwidth, is like the pipe, that the water, when you have a pipe and there's water that is passing through, the bigger the pipe, the more water can pass through there. So that is what we mean by the bandwidth. Okay, so the network, we are able to pass more information. Now last night I was watching the game, the Steelers got whacked. That's actually my team, unfortunately, but I was watching the game online. Okay, so that's because there is enough bandwidth for us to be able to watch a game live. And you can, I was watching that and I was doing some work on the computer. Okay, and I had my WhatsApp on and on like that. So you have that bandwidth that can accommodate more. It's like having 5-lane highway. You can accommodate more vehicles at the same time compared to only when you have a 2-lane highway. Okay, so that network bandwidth increasing means that we have what? Cost of data transmission does what? Goes down. Okay, because for all those things that I was doing, you're only paying one cable bill. Okay, maybe 120, something like that. Okay, so you can see all these implications. So they are all connected together. Computer becomes what? Interconnected, and then we have what you're calling what? Digitization and miniaturization increases. So we have much smaller devices that are actually much what? Much more powerful. Okay, so these are what you're calling the implications of the IT trend, and you can see how they are connected. So all this leads to what? Interconnected computing device become more pervasive and embedded in more aspects of our lives. Okay, so in terms of pervasive, you're saying that we have devices everywhere. That's the concept of the Internet of Things. Okay, nowadays we say that you can actually hide. Okay, even if you try one way or another, somebody will pick you up. Correct? Yep. As
Correct,
long as
Professor.
your phone is
Yep.
on,
Yep.
yep. As long as your phone is on, people will find out where you are. Okay. Now some people try to turn the location off and things like that, but it is what it is. Okay. So big screen game is just something by geeks, maybe not, but we have seen very many companies now doing what? Using the technology. Okay. McDonald's, they like to give the example of McDonald's. Okay, and we see this example. So they were trying to have these iPads at McDonald's. I think some actually have this. So there's a case in your book that talks about how successful these were or they are not. So this is at an airport, and they say this is something that can be useful at an airport. At the beginning, this did not pick up very well for McDonald's. Actually, there was kind of like a small failure because they're trying to do this for all the stores, but it's not going to be applicable in all the stores. So they say for the airport, this can be applicable, and also maybe they say the neighborhoods. Sometimes this is going to be, and it's just what it is, you know. So when you're an IT person, sometimes you're looking at how you're going to be using technology. Now, somebody we have a Food Lion down the road. Do they have a self-checkout register there? Anybody know?
There is
Not
no
the one on Fayetteville
self-checkout
Street.
Food Lion at Lakewood, at least.
So the
Not
one
the one on
down
Fayetteville Street.
Fairville
Not the one on Fayetteville Street. Nah.
is not, yeah, but others, have you gone to others that have one?
Yes.
One on
Yeah.
Play 54 that has self checkout.
Yeah, so that tells you when you're an IT manager, sometimes you have to look at the demographics. I don't know how they determine that. Okay, but yeah, so those are kind of decisions that you have to look at, and that's why like companies look at the census data and they want to look at the income of the people in the neighborhood and things like that before they make the decisions. And sometimes there's not all the decisions that are going to be applicable in all the environments. So I've seen some McDonald's that actually have these iPads in some locations, and then some other locations you find that they're not there. And the same thing like that with Food Lion. So you go to some Food Lion in some neighborhoods, and they have self-checkout register. You go some Food Lion, some locations, and actually what you do is you find a policeman when you walk in. So yeah, it's interesting, but that's life. So company strategy, and then demographics and things like that. So they are working on this burger also, customize me, testing biggest burger change in the decades, blah blah can can use iPad to build their own burger and things like that. So it's not everybody who can use the iPad. So the education level of the employee also, because you can have self-checkout register and people are not comfortable with technology. It's just going to be a waste of time. So that's why you have to look at the demographic and see your customers, understand your customers, the education level and things like that. And you gotta do that. Okay, so this says to become an organizational leader, you'll need to demonstrate that you can design, lead, and execute transformational information systems projects. So this is Watson, and this is actually very true. So design, lead, and execute is very important. So you have to come up with these ideas about how do you see technology moving. Now, one of the ways that you can actually become very effective in your organization is by coming up with ideas about how you can move your company forward. People who get promotions and people who move from one job to the other one because of their performance is because of how they are being innovative. Okay, so you kind of like predict where technology is going, and then you can go ahead and do it. See how you can move the company in that direction. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, and that is normal. Some CEO have been fired because they moved the company in a certain direction and the company failed. Some CEOs have been able to move from one job to the other one because they are able to do it, to change the company and transform and see how they are moving. Okay, so there will continue to be a proliferation of devices and of information on the internet. That is correct. We keep seeing more innovation, more things coming up. And the key thing is solving the societal problem. Okay, so this kind of like a little bit of summary of what we looked at. And I think the key thing here is the information system skill set required as the modern general and functional manager pertain to those issues about identifying opportunities to use information technology. So that's the key thing. How can we use information systems to help us achieve a competitive advantage? Okay, what kind of information systems can we use? So that's what you're going to be looking at moving forward. Okay, how we're going to be designing, how we're going to be developing, how we're going to be selecting, and how we're going to be implementing these information systems. Okay, so we'll work with that and hopefully be able to see that. Now, in a company, the person who is in charge of the IT department is usually called the Chief Information Officer. Okay, Central, we do have one. Most of the universities have. Most of the companies also have a Chief Information Officer. And in most of the companies, the Chief Information Officer reports to the CEO or the Chief Financial Officer. Okay, and the reason why most of them report the Chief Financial Officer is because of the historical role of information system in the organization. Information system was looked as a cost unit. So people are using information system to help reduce the cost. And the person who is in charge of the cost in the organization is the Chief Financial Officer. So most of the CIOs were reporting to the Chief Financial Officer. But now we are seeing that shift whereby as IT or information systems, and sometimes we use those two terms together interchangeably, information systems and information technology. As we see that shift from IT or information system being a strategic resource in the organization, then we see the CIOs reporting to the chief information officer, chief executive officers, I'm sorry, CEOs or chief operating officers, because these top executives, they want to see how we can use information system to help us achieve competitive advantage. Like the case of banking. Yeah, banks are now almost 90% IT driven. Okay, very few people nowadays go to the banks to conduct any transactions like the tellers. Most of them were using technology. You have a check, you have an app for that. You can just deposit a check from the comfort of your what? Of your house. Okay? You can transfer funds using your phone. You don't need to go to the bank to do that. Okay? People are actually applying for mortgages and getting approved from the comfort of their house. Okay, you only have somebody maybe come to your house to do what? I refinance my house, and that's what happened. Somebody came to my house just to do the what? The signing work. And I was like, why can't we do this online? They said, we gotta do it. But a lot of things are being done online. Okay, so the Moore's law, at least have an idea about that, and this is basically telling us about how we have been able to increase the computing power based on the number of transistors on the computer. You don't have to get into all that details, but just know that we have seen the decreasing size of the computing devices, but as we decrease in size, they are becoming what? Much more powerful, and they have been able to reduce what you're calling the social distance or the social landscape. So that is that for chapter one. Your book goes a little bit more in details, but in a nutshell, that's what you're going to be looking at. Any questions, any concerns?
No questions or concerns for me so far, Professor. Thank you.
Okay, good. Let's hear from others. I think we have 18 students here. What is that? Katila? Is that how you say your name? Katila. I'm just murdering your names. I'm sorry. Elvin, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, any question?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Johnson.
Hi, I don't have any questions.
And who is Tiffany?
That's me. I don't have any questions either.
Okay, what about Cooper?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, so if no questions, then we'll stop there for today. And I'll stop this recording. I'll share